Did you just find a Coleman lantern or stove and think it's pretty cool? Did you wake up this morning and realize that you have a lot more Coleman lanterns than you can remember buying? Cool. Welcome to the addiction. I made this video just for you. Hi, Frank from the Old Town Coleman Center. I've been wanting to make this video for quite a while. I field a lot of questions from those that are unfamiliar with Coleman and new collectors, and I thought I could just sit down and make a video and maybe help you guys out a little bit, save you some money, save you some time and a little frustration, and allow you to enjoy the hobby a little bit more. So a little bit about myself. I started collecting in 1999. I went to a yard sale one afternoon and I stumbled upon a pretty large collection, about 1,400 lamps, lanterns, and stoves, and I bought each one of them, and I got them home, and I started tinkering with them and learning how to rebuild them and how to operate them, and I documented what I was doing, and that turned into my website. I went to Wichita, Kansas to the Coleman Factory School and became an authorized warranty center for Coleman and an authorized parts retailer. And I did that for a number of years and sold parts and rebuilt lamps, lanterns, and stoves for people all around the world. And finally in 2009, I sold the parts business to a gentleman over in Washington, but I kept the website and I kept it available online because I really enjoy helping people. I wanted to make sure that people had a resource that they could go to help them rebuild and work on their lamps, lanterns, and stoves. And that's kind of what I'm doing here with this video today. I will tell you that the most important thing that I'm going to talk about today, I'm going to say for the very end of the video. So I hope you can stick around and get that little piece of advice at the end because it'll really help you out a lot. So let's start off with, why would you want to collect Coleman? Well, first of all, they are very cool. You can get a lantern that's 100 years old and clean it up, make it look pretty still, and make it work just like it did the day it was brand new. And there are not a lot of things you can do that with. They're very pretty. Coleman made a whole bunch of items, more items than you'll ever be able to see in a lifetime. And it's really intriguing to watch a Coleman lantern burn, and the smells and the noise it makes. It's just a really fun hobby. Another reason to collect them is they're still very useful. You can take a 75-year-old lantern, make it work like new, and you can still take it camping, and you can still light your home with it when the power goes out. You can still cook your meals on Coleman stoves. They're an extremely useful tool. Another cool thing about collecting Coleman is the investment value. I assure you that if you buy a lantern today, and in a number of years, it's going to hold its value, if not increase in value. They are a great investment. But the thing that people like the most about Coleman, and I'll show you this lantern I have here we'll be talking about in a few minutes. Coleman lanterns since about 1924 are all dated. Well, most of them are dated. Lanterns, lamps, stoves, coolers, most Coleman things have a date stamp on them. On a lantern like this one, if you just turn up the bottom, you're going to see, I have it upside down, there'll be a 4 on the left side and a 60 on the right. This lantern was made in April of 1960. A lot of collectors like to give lanterns and stoves and lamps away as birthday lanterns. So that's another good reason to collect Colemans. So now let's move on to a little bit of show and tell on some of the more popular Coleman lanterns that you'll probably find out in the wild. And then I'll show you a little bit of what else Coleman has made and is very collectible. So when you say the word Coleman, the thing that pops into most people's mind is a large green lantern. And that's exactly what I have sitting here. This is an instant lighting Coleman Model 220E double mantle lantern. And this is basically the workhorse of the Coleman Company. They made more of these than any other lantern. And They made it for 55 years, and they discontinued the line in the 1980s. Coleman started making double mantle lanterns all the way just before the 1920s, and as you can see, there are different eras and they're different models, but they basically all look the same. Now, in 1932, Coleman decided that it was going to come out with a lantern that was a little bit lighter and a little bit smaller, and they became wildly popular, and they still are today. This is a 1932 Coleman Model 242. It is an instant lighting single mantle lantern. And following that, starting in 1950, they came out with what now has become the most popular of all lanterns. That is the Coleman Model 200, or the Model 200A. As you can see from the picture there, they came in various colors, and they're all very collectible today. Now, these are the lanterns that you're most likely to find out in the wild. When you go to a swap meet or a yard sale, this is probably what you're going to find. So over the years, Coleman made a whole bunch of different types of lanterns, and they made big lanterns and compact lanterns and brown lanterns and weird green lanterns and blue lanterns and even olive drab lanterns. And in addition to the suitcase stoves that you're very familiar with, Coleman also made compact stoves and big stoves and military stoves and really big stoves. They also made lamps and bracket lamps and chandeliers and complete lighting fixture systems and parabolic heaters and radiant heaters and electric appliances and both gas and electric irons. And shoot, they even made water bags and coolers. So I think you get the hint. There are just a ton of things out there that you can collect from Coleman, and just have fun with it. The next thing I'd like to talk about is how to find and grow your collection. And hopefully with this I'll be able to save you a little bit of money. My first piece of advice is just be patient. You don't have to spend a lot of money on your collection. If you take the time to find it locally, you're going to pay a lot less money for it, and you can find some really nice items that have been sitting in garages for many years and clean them up yourself, and you'll be very happy with what you find. Don't get wrapped up in having to have everything in your collection be in mint condition. A 75-year-old lantern was made to be used, and it probably was. It may have some dings, dents, and bruises in it, but that's okay, so do people. Just clean it up, make it work right, and put it on the shelf and use it when you like to. Here are some of the best places to find them locally. Antique stores, thrift stores, yard sales, auctions, and hardware stores. So here are a few tips for antique store shopping. When you go up an aisle, make sure before you leave the store you go down that aisle in the opposite direction. You might find something you didn't see before because you're getting a different perspective on what's in those booths. Another thing is don't just look and see what's in front of you. Make sure you look up, because a lot of dealers will hang their lamps from up high, and you might find a Coleman lamp up there. You also might find a shade that belongs on a Coleman, and you'll be able to find it by looking up. Look in display cases. They will put lighters in display cases, tools, boxes of old parts, belt buckles, all kinds of stuff will be in those display cases. So take the time to look through those. Don't ever be afraid to make an antique dealer an offer. Usually an antique mall will call their dealers to provide them with an offer that you submit. So make sure you do that, and unless they're way out of bounds with the price, you know, they want to sell that. That's how antique dealers make their money. They don't want dead inventory there. So it's a pretty good chance if you make a reasonable offer, you're going to be able to walk home with that item. And check back frequently. Antique dealers are shopping all the time. When I had my antique stores for a number of years, I shopped 5 days a week. And a good antique dealer, a good booth, will merchandise often, and there'll be a high turnover, so check back frequently. So a few tips for yard sales and swap meets. On a yard sale, oftentimes they won't let people in early, and there'll be a large line waiting to get in. So what I do is I go in there and I walk around as quickly as I can and try to find what I'm looking for and buy as much of it as I can as quickly as I can. Then I'll go back through the second time much slower and pay more attention to what I'm looking for. Same thing applies with the swap meet. The first time I'll just fly through and look for Coleman items. The second time I'll go through and really get down into the weeds on what the dealers have there. When you go to a yard sale, always ask if they have Coleman items. because it may not have made it out to their yard sale, but oh yeah, I do have, and they'll go back and find it. Back in the 70s, they'd say, I want to go camping, so Dad and Mom would go out to the store and buy lanterns and stoves and sleeping bags and tents, and they'd use it once and put it away and forget about it. Well, if you ask them, it might prompt a memory and they'll pull it out for you. And if you do find something here, make sure you ask if they have more, because they might have something they decided they wanted to keep, but if you ask about it and they know there's interest on it, they might want to sell it to you. Old hardware stores. Now, you're not necessarily going to find old appliances at hardware stores, although you could. They may have a box upstairs with a really old, valuable lantern still unopened. But visiting old hardware stores, you can find parts. And parts can be very valuable now when they stop making them. You get a lot of money for them. You can always sell them and use that money to buy lanterns if that's what you like to do. But if you go to all the old hardware stores, the old Aces, and in the middle of the Midwest off the freeway, those places are great. I cleared out a great big room in a store in Albuquerque, New Mexico once, and it took me 2 truckloads to get everything home. It was just a back room that used to be a Coleman warranty center that had closed many years prior to that, and it was just full of parts and tools and old stuff, and I brought it all home. So another place to find Colemans locally is through your circle of influence, your friends and your friends' friends. If they know you collect Coleman, there's a pretty good chance that they're going to keep you in mind, and if they see something in a yard sale or an antique store, they're going to give you a call. My brother just did this. He was helping a lady with a yard sale, and he found an old Coleman stove, and he sent me a picture, and absolutely I wanted it. It was an old number 2 from the mid-1920s, and I have that stove now. But you know, people will leave Colemans on your doorstep. That happens all the time. It's just a real good way to get your feelers out locally and let other people find them for you also. So online searches, of course, eBay, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, Etsy. There's a ton of smaller sites. Goodwill uses a small auction site. Those are really good, although sometimes the prices on them can be a little bit outrageous. But things to look for, misspellings. People sometimes will forget to put the E in Coleman, and it's not a Coleman mustard tin, it's a Coleman lantern. I've found them that way. Just because you know what it is doesn't mean they do. They may call it a pressure lamp, they may call it an oil lamp, or a gas lantern, or a gas lamp. Also timing. Know when to look for buy it now. People will list buy it now, and sometimes you can get a pretty good price doing that. So next, let's talk about where you can go to find help. Well, the first place you can go to find help is to contact me. I don't know it all, but I assure you, if I don't know it, I will try to guide you in the right direction to someone or somewhere where you can get the help that you need. I try to answer all of my emails. I try to answer every question that I get on Facebook and Instagram. And although I have a hard time keeping up with YouTube, I try to do that also. If you go to my website at oldtowncoleman.com, there is a collecting button. If you click on that, it's going to take you to Best Sites. And Best Sites is the place where you're going to be able to find links to what I'm about to talk about. The first one is a book that I recommend that everybody have. It's called The Guide to Vintage Coleman Products, 1900 to 1983. This book was published by the International Coleman Collectors Club, and it is an absolute must. It is full of pictures of lanterns and stoves and lamps and all kinds of stuff, and it has great information, and it's an absolutely must-have if you are going to start collecting Coleman. A second book published by Darcy, manager of D&D Lantern Works. I am honored to call D&D my friends. Darcy and Dwayne are wonderful people. I've known them for over 20 years. Darcy wrote this book. It's called The Guide to Coleman and Non-Coleman Lampshade. I take this book wherever I go. If I go into an antique store, this book is either with me or out in the truck. And if I see a lantern or a lampshade similar to this one right here, I don't really know what it is, but if it's in this book, I know it's valuable. Something I want. You can go on my website, and the link to D&D is there, and that's where you can buy this book. So there are a few websites that I recommend you look at. The first one is my website, oldtowncoleman.com. I've been working on this thing for over 20 years now, and it's really never going to be finished. I put safety consideration, I show you how things work, I put reference material on there, and there's how-tos, and a lot of fun Coleman stories. The next one is probably the most useful Coleman website out there. It's certainly my favorite. It's one I have bookmarked, and I recommend you bookmark it too. It's Terry Marsh's website, terry-marsh.com. It is a humongous lantern and lamp gallery. Terry has researched for many years, and he has all this information out here on this website, and it's the best one out there, and I highly recommend you visit Dr. Marsh's site. The next one is my favorite Facebook page. This is D&D Lantern Works. Darcy and Dwayne, they're the ones I just showed you the book. Awesome material here. You ask a question about a lamp or a lampshade, and Darcy usually within an hour is going to answer you. It's really good information there. The next one is Classic Camp Stoves, and this is a bulletin board service and has a lot of great information on there that you can read. It also has a sister site called Classic Pressure Lamps, and that also has a lot of great information. Next one is the Coleman Collectors Forum. This is hosted by oldcolemanparts.com. It's probably the biggest and most active of all of the bulletin boards, and you post a question there, in a matter of minutes you're going to have an answer. Next is the International Coleman Collectors Club. The Coleman Collectors Club has a number of local chapters, so if you wanted to meet some people with like interests and maybe see their collections and ask questions, you'd be able to do that through the ICCC. They have annual conventions. This year it's going to be in Texas, and I hope to be there. But I hosted the 2006 convention in Southern California, and I've been to, I don't know, about 5 conventions, and they are just a lot of fun. So if you're going to be doing repairs, of course, I have a number of videos on how to repair and rebuild items. I also have that on my website. Everything is written down there, so if you want to just sit and look at a website, you can learn how to repair lamps and stoves and lanterns and all that stuff. The other place you need to know is oldcolemanparts.com. They are a company out of Washington, and they have a collection of a lot of old NOS parts and parts that are hard to find today. You can find them there, and they also sell the parts that Coleman is still making. So if you need parts, that's the place to go find it. And finally is the Coleman Company. If you go on my website, you can find a link where you can send your lantern or stove to Coleman for $55, and they'll refurbish it and send it right back to you. It's a great price, and if you're not willing or able or wanting to do the repairs on your appliance yourself, you can send it into Coleman and get it done. Next, let's move on to a few words of caution I have for new collectors. First thing is, gas and fire so close together is inherently dangerous. I don't want you to be afraid of this. I just want you to respect it. Always look for leaks and blockages. If you have a leak in a lantern or a stove, obviously you're going to hopefully see it before it ignites, but it's dangerous and it's something you need to correct before you continue using it. If you have a new appliance that you've never used before and it's old, it's a good chance that it has a blockage in it. A bug or a spider or something built a nest up inside the burner, and you go to light it, and you turn on the gas, and you can't light it, and you turn on the gas more, and it still won't light, and you turn on the gas more, and it still won't light, and all of a sudden you have a big ball of flames. So know what you're doing. A Coleman lantern that is in good working order is absolutely, completely safe. Don't be afraid of them, just respect them. Don't believe everything you see or read online. I can tell you that there are a lot of safety idiots out there, and there are a lot of people that claim to be Coleman experts that really don't have a clue other than what they just read on some bulletin board service, and they will give you an answer and tell you that it's factual when they don't really know. So be careful of when you ask questions and the answers you get. You may want to ask it in a few different places to see what the answers come back as. There are also people out there that will try to take advantage of you. This happened to me when I first bought my collection. I had a guy contact me, and he was all ready to buy everything that I had for a really fair offer, which turned out to be not really fair at all, because he was just trying to take advantage of you. There are people out there that will do that. Another thing I would caution you about is sometimes online you will find things that are not exactly as they appear. If you look at this lantern, it's kind of obviously a little bit odd. But the only thing I would say about this Coleman lantern is it's just a fake. Coleman didn't make that. The globe's kind of cool with the Christmas motif on it, but the lantern, Coleman never made a lantern that color blue. This one doesn't have a bail on it. I don't know what that gasket is there at the top. This is just a fake lantern. Now, if you look at the next one here, this is gold bond lanterns. You saw earlier I showed you that 200A had a gold bond in it. A 200A gold bond just sold on eBay for like $2,300, so they're very, very desirable and expensive. This is a fake. This was a green lantern, and someone turned it yellow, painted the fount yellow, and I think they powder coated the ventilator. Now, in their eBay listing, it does say that it was a green lantern. Now, that's great until the person that buys it tries to pass it off as a real one and doesn't say that. And, well, that happens in car collecting quite a bit, and it certainly can happen in Coleman collecting. This device, wow, they're asking a lot of money for this, and Coleman didn't make that. That is not a Coleman parabolic heater. That's just someone took a lantern fount and put a lamp handle on it, and I'm not sure where they got that parabolic dish. It could be from a Coleman or a Tilly heater, but then it's just put over the top of a lamp, and that is just a piece of garbage is what it really is. So things like this you have to be careful for. People will reproduce things and make fakes, and you know, if you take a lantern and paint it the color that it wasn't intended to be, and it's your lantern, then I mean that's fine. It's your collection. You do what you like. But sometimes people do that for disingenuous reasons, and I just like you to be careful. I'd hate to see you get taken on it. And the last piece of advice I have for everybody, and it is the most important thing, it's what I told you at the beginning of the video that I was going to wait to the end to tell you, is always include your significant other and your family in your collecting. If it's a family issue, you're going to have a lot more fun doing it. Now, this picture and this picture were sent to me from two great dads, and it kind of sums up everything I'm trying to say here. Get those kids involved. If you think of, say, the year 1930, yeah, Dad was outside working on the farm and milking the cows, and he had his Coleman lantern out there. But it was the lady of the house that was inside, and she was firing up the Coleman range and the Coleman heaters and ironing clothes with a Coleman iron, and all of this was gasoline powered, and you had to pressurize it. And it was the woman of the house that operated most of these appliances. And that is certainly something that a lot of women don't realize, but once they do realize it, they will get interested in it. My wife certainly has, and she wanted me to tell you to make sure you don't discourage their collecting on things that you don't necessarily like. My wife came up to me one day and said, I just spent a lot of money on a Coleman reflector because it was the right color. And she wanted that color for a display that she had, so she went out and bought that. And I kind of told her that she paid too much for it, but she didn't want to hear it. It was what she wanted. So don't discourage them if they see something that they like. Let them do their collecting too. You'll have a lot more fun. Okay, I hope you have enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it, and I'll probably end up making another one to cover a few more topics. But if you did like it, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. And you can also follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, and Facebook. And always go to www.oldtowncoleman.com if you have any questions. And until the next video, keep them burning.